What's up, guys? Pepman, Matt Marcano Varsity coming in at you with a new segment. We're gonna call it Pepman's Players, and I put a post out that I was looking for underrated players that have been flying under the radar all year long, and I really want to feature players each week that are really doing a good job, but sometimes don't get the headlines for whatever reason. Maybe they have another star player on the team that does a lot of the work and they're kind of a complimentary player. Or there may be a younger player that hadn't got the spotlight just yet. Or maybe they're a big lineman that does all the grinding but doesn't get the spotlight. So this week is going to kick it off, and we're going to do a lot of players this week. I put it out there for submissions, and I've got a number of submissions already. I'm going to be looking at some film. But we're going to do this every week, and I'm going to put it out there. Players of the week is cool, and I like that, but I want to kind of do something that grasps all the players that we can, not just the guys that, run and score touchdowns or have a lot of tackles, things of that nature. I want to get everybody because everyone's deserving, and football's a team sport. So we're going to call it Pepman's Players, and we're going to do it every week from here on out through the end of the season. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kick it off, and I got a list of guys here for today, and we're going to do a video about all the players each day this week going up until Friday, so the last video will be Thursday. But these are players that I've either observed or heard some really good things about from reliable sources such as coaches, their coaches or coaches on opposing teams, or media members, things of that nature. And don't fret if you didn't hear your name in this one. We're going to be doing it all week long, all right? All right, so here we go. First off is Mallard Creek quarterback Jaden Washington. Stepped up, obviously. His name is not not an unknown name now, obviously, after the performance he had in the first game of the year against Scotland. But he's just been steady. And and the big thing with him is it was a tough game offensively last week for them against Harding, and he ended up having a nice zone read, I should say, for a 27-yard touchdown run to kind of ice the game there. And he kept steady. Harding's defense is really tough, and he just kept at it, and guided his team to a victory. And he's able to throw the ball and make big plays down the field. He can obviously run very well. We interviewed him in week 1. I think he's a very intelligent young man, and he's got his head on straight, and he's a good leader for that team. Aaron Scott, quarterback at North Mecklenburg. You're wondering why North Meck is good? Why are they 4-0? Well, he's a big reason why. I actually saw this kid last year against Hopewell, and I saw he's a dual threat kid. I saw him some. We went and visited up at North Meck. Throws the ball really well. He's very athletic. He's fast in the open field, and he's smart with his decision making. And you got to be really intelligent in Coach Mormon's offense up there. He puts a lot on his quarterbacks, and Aaron Scott is the trigger man and the guy that drives the car for that North Meck Viking football team. Brahim Murphy, quarterback at Harding. Most people know his story. If you don't, it's to the point now where you could Google him and look it up. Brahim, when I was at Harding in 2014 when he was a freshman, and I was coaching there, and we had him as a DB and a receiver type kid. We noticed he had really good feet. He is fast. He can make plays with the ball in space, and we knew he was going to be something. When you got young kids, sometimes you try to kind of move them around a little bit to see what they do best. And the thing with him was he wasn't pegged to be a quarterback. They actually had another kid, but some things happened with him, and Coach Griner moved him into that role, and he's flourished, and hats off to him. He's a great young man. He's going to Army, and I'm so happy for him. And if you haven't seen him play, they got Quavaris Crouch, yes, but he's a big part of the reason why they're 4-1 also. Very good player. Dylan Ratliff, quarterback at Hickory Ridge High School. Coach Seidel, really bragged hard about him when we went up there and I met him. We interviewed him. Well-spoken young man. They do a lot of RPO stuff, which is run pass option if you're not familiar. And he does it really well. I've seen several highlights of him having big runs, and I mean big runs for touchdowns. And he's putting up good numbers throwing the football. His dad was Phil Ratliff, the former UNC Charlotte coach, that unfortunately passed a couple years ago actually. And I'm sure that it's hard to try and go out and perform, but he does a great job every Friday night leading that Hickory Ridge football team, and they're undefeated right now, and he's a big reason why. Grayson McCall, quarterback at Porter Ridge. The biggest thing that I always think about when I think about Porter Ridge is precision, and that's what I think about when I look at Grayson McCall. A good-sized kid, stands tall. You could say he's dual threat. He's had some nice runs in that offense they run, split back gun type stuff. But when you first look at him, you think he's a pocket guy. He has the characteristics of a pocket guy, but he can move. Really throws a good ball from the pocket. And he's versatile. And, he's only a junior. He's going to continue to get better. And Coach Mike Hurts, I know, has the confidence in him because he's played. It seems like he's been around forever because he gave him the keys to the car really early, and it's paid off because he's growing and growing and growing. And he's going to continue to be a good player for that Porter Ridge football team. Let's jump to some running backs now. I think it's Damon Rouse. I was going to say Damon, but I think it's Damon Rouse, the Olympic running back. And I tell you, man. This kid was a 1,000-yard rusher last year, and nobody was saying anything about him. It's like, over there at Olympic, they kind of got lost in the shuffle for whatever reason. But, I've seen him a couple times this year, and he runs so hard. But he's got moves with him, too. He kind of reminds me of Jonathan Stewart with the Panthers, on, of course, a high school scale, but you should go out and look. I looked at his highlight tape today, and it's so impressive. And I tell you, college is going to get a steal with this young man because he's definitely under the radar here, and a very good player for that Trojan team. Of course, you got the duo advance. I want to talk about both of them. Kalen Clark first. I'll tell you. They really got a thunder and lightning going on, and Kalen Clark is a thunder. He brings it when he runs the football. He's a downhill north-south runner. He's not going to, try to put a bunch of moves on you. He's just going to run you over. And those are the kind of running backs I like to see. Puts his foot in the ground and gets upfield. And they like to run that off-tackle power a lot, and he brings the power on it with that big guard that's coming around there. And it's just a joy to watch him run the football. And by all accounts, he's a good young man also. Of course, the lightning to that thunder is MJ Williams. And, every time I see him and he touches the ball, he has a chance to go the distance. He had a couple nice kickoff returns in the Kickoff Classic against West Meck earlier this year. And then last year, he had a nice run up the middle against Huff in that conference championship game, essentially, that kind of iced it. And, he was like shot out of a cannon. So I understand he's committed to UNC Charlotte, and, that's a good get right there. Definitely a playmaker. Julian Bodie at Providence. You've seen his name in the paper a few times, but I tell you, he's been doing it since last year. He came on the scene hard last year. And I saw him when they played at Harding last year. And I kept looking at him. He kept making big run after big run after big run. And he didn't have the most support up front. And I had to go and I asked him, I said, man, who is this kid? And why is nobody talking about him? So we made sure we got over there in the off season and talked to him. And I tell you, you talk to so many kids doing this. He's probably one of the favorites that I've talked to. Just so intelligent and down to earth and well spoken. And he's actually, believe it or not, helped us do our jobs because he had some great suggestions about things, and they really helped. And Providence has got a really great running back, and I'll tell you, he's being under recruited, I believe, and someone needs to get in there and offer this young man for sure. Going back to Hickory Ridge, Jeremiah Boyd. This is a kid I didn't know much about. Coach Jason Seidel told me he rushed for over 1,000 yards. I think maybe about 1,400 yards last year. So I took a look at some film on him, and man, you talking about bruising? This kid is a bruising running back, man. And, to put that with the type of offense they do, it's like a perfect compliment. Because if you're so worried about the stuff on the perimeter and this guy's coming downhill at you real fast and bringing the pain, you're going to have to bring it to bring him down. He's a load. And it was a pleasure to see that. And I'm definitely going to see him in person here pretty soon for sure. Jarrett Nagy, another favorite of mine. Huff running back and linebacker, two-way players. Don't see that as much anymore, but he's one of those old school guys. And last week against Archie Kell, I think he rushed for over 200 yards, maybe around 250 yards on the ground. Big reason why they won that game. And we've been talking about him for a while. Me and Dale, we both love this kid. He just gets it done, man. He's one of those old school guys in his game, the way he does it. I mean, he's not real flashy. He runs downhill. He runs hard. He'll run over you. He can run away from you. I've seen that. I saw that last year when Huff played at Archie Kell. He had a big run in that game. Really, really fun kid to watch. East Meck running back, Khalil Wells. When Howard transferred to Myers Park, everyone said, "Oh my goodness." I'm sorry, it's Khalil Woods. I got Wells on here. I apologize for that. Khalil Woods at East Meck. But first time we saw him was at the our jamboree at Olympic earlier this year, and man, when they run the sweep and he comes around behind those guards, he is lightning, man. He can really break big runs, and he's been doing well. The run game for East Meck has not slipped with him coming in and taking over as the featured back there. Really, really fun to watch him, and Coach Shuford really does well in putting together running offenses and featuring those kind of guys, and he's doing a really good job this year. Couple wide receivers before we finish up. Jameek Edmonds at Olympic. This kid really broke out in the first game of the year, the kickoff classic down at Memorial Stadium. He caught a bubble screen, and I'm filming the play, and I'm like, oh man, he's not going anywhere. And all of a sudden, its little slither opened up, and he was gone down the sideline for 60 yards. And I said, oh my goodness, who is this guy? Then he came back later on in that same quarter and caught a slant over the middle and took it to the house after about 50 yards. And every game after that, he's had over 100 yards receiving and at least one touchdown. So he's a game breaker. And, he's one of the quarterback Dylan Ernie's favorite targets. And, it's a joy to watch somebody just come out of the blue like that and step up and make big play after big play. Of course, Lavelle Williams at Mallard Creek came onto the scene in week 1 at Scotland County. Had several nice catches. Those are still on my YouTube channel if you go to Matt Morrow and check those out. He wears number 3. He can separate in one-on-one situations. His hands are really good. He had a nice one-handed catch against Scotland County that was impressive. He also returns kicks, and he's a game breaker, and that's part of the Mountain Creek offense that's a little different than they had in the past couple years. That game breaking ability. Tyler Barnes, West Meck wide receiver. I've talked about him a couple times. He kind of gets overshadowed with the Brown brothers over there with Diami and Coffrey. But he's a tall, very strong kid, about 6'3". Outside receiver, makes the tough possession type catches. can go up and get jump balls also. He's kind of the one you forget about. If you put him on the backside of a trips formation, for example, and leave him one-on-one because you're so worried about Yami somewhere else, he can burn you, and he's done that for West Meck the past couple of years, as a matter of fact. Keon Lassane, the Butler. He's the Butler main featured threat at receiver, wears number 5. If you saw the Butler Mallet Creek game, they were trying to get him the ball a couple different ways. Didn't quite work out yet, but I've seen that he started to step up and make some plays, especially down at Richmond in that big win, and he had a couple nice catches last week against Providence. So they're starting to, get into a rhythm and get him involved in the offense, and he's a very good, dynamic wide receiver. Jalen Brooks, Hickory Ridge wide receiver. You hear a lot about Jarrett Garner, who's committed to Duke. But I think this year he's been getting so much attention that it's opened up Brooks on the other side. And he's had some big games. I saw he had a couple of 100-yard receiving games over there, and a few touchdowns. And, we talked to him in the preseason. I like his personality. He's a laid-back young man. I think his best football's ahead of him. And I think some schools are going to be intelligent on getting on him now. And getting him into the fold, and then teaching him to fire the points, and he's just going to continue to rise. Definitely an underrated player. And the last one we're going to discuss tonight is Jalen Riley. He's become the big Vance target for Nigel Somerville up there. And today, matter of fact, I got tweeted to me a catch he made in double coverage against South Meck. That was I had to play it a few times. It was that impressive. And he just goes up and high points the football really well. I saw he's had some really good numbers in some games. And, Coach Aaron Brand's going to feature guys that can go and get the football. And he's the one that's getting it done right now for Vance. I think he's going to continue to do it also. Great job, young man. Great job to all of you guys. It's been a pleasure watching you so far. Continue to do a good job and continue the good work. We'll continue to recognize you. If you didn't hear your name tonight, we're going to have more. I've got a ton of film to look at. I got a number of submissions already. Thank you for all those. We're going to continue to do a video every day as we get submissions in, and as I continue my film review and my notes and everything. But I appreciate the time. Thanks to all the guys that were featured tonight, and we'll see you soon. Thanks a lot.